Well, I mean, we had a good run today, and we had a good one last night as well. Just trying to put in some of our offensive and defensive concepts, a review for the guys that played in the Pan American Games, and for the newcomers, a chance to learn what we're trying to do. And then, you know, you can see at the end we try to play a little bit. They've got to become familiar with each other, and we've got to become familiar with what their strengths and weaknesses are, even though we know it. We just got to make sure we put them in a position where they can be successful.
A little while ago, when you guys started this whole move with the Giant camp a couple years ago, you guys talked about wanting to get this group together, playing for a long period of time. What is your impression of how they've come together now? Looking at this roster, you've got the cream of the crop of Canadian basketball.
We've got the most talent we've ever had in Canada in a gymnasium at one time now, which is great. It's you know, some of the guys have been through the process for 3 years. You know, guys like Melvin Edgem and Dwight Powell and Brady Heslop and Phil Scrubb. Those guys have been with us for 3 years. Other guys have had, you know, bits and pieces of 2 years. Olynyk's been with us for 2 years, and Anthony Bennett had a good run at the Pan Am. So everybody's still just trying to fit in, and you know, this is our pool of players is deep. We could see that with the guys that we had playing in the Pan Ams. We were able to reach down into our pool to get players to compete, and now we've got the best players in camp in here right now. So it's exciting, but we've got a long ways to go as far as learning the international game.
Those guys that you just mentioned that are more experienced with the program, do you lean on them a little bit more here in this process early in camp?
Absolutely. I mean, when we split up the teams, we try to put guys that are familiar with what we've done in the past and what we expect, you know, not only in practice, but to help position guys on plays and defensively. But the one good thing is that, you know, these guys are quick learners. I mean, if they've played in our system before, whether it's been on the junior team or the cadet team, we play the same system, and that's one of the things we started to do, so that as a program, Canada basketball has a style of play, and these guys are familiar with it. It's a different level, but at least they're familiar with what we're trying to do.
What is an expectation of Andrew Wiggins, obviously, coming in with?
I mean, you know, as talented as he is, we just have to find positions to make him as comfortable as possible on the floor. You know, he's super quick. You know, the big thing for us we keep talking about is, you know, 10 games in 12 days or 13 days is going to be a challenge for us. But we hope that our depth and our ability to defend is something that can be consistent. You know, obviously there's going to be days where you don't shoot the ball well, and that's going to happen. So, but there's no excuse for not playing defense and coming up with rebounds and loose balls, and that's going to be hopefully our forte.
Does he expect to be leaned on? Would you expect him to lean on him?
Yeah, I mean, I think every level that he's played at, teams have leaned on him. You know, even as a rookie last year in the NBA, playing all the games that he did and the possessions that he gets, we're gonna make sure we give him the basketball, and we expect him to be a big player for us.
With the guy with his
whether Jamal will be allowed to play.
We haven't received confirmation either yay or nay on that. It's something we work on a daily basis, and we're trying to figure out whether that's going to work or not. So best thing is that he's here in camp and learning, so that if we get a positive answer, it's not catch-up time for him.
For, you know, you got a lot of NBA guys here, and even for Andrew, how does it, you know, a guy with his skill set and talents and athleticism translate to the international game? Because, you know, you've played and you've coached for a long time, and it is different from how they play in the NBA.
Are you talking about any player specific?
Yeah.
Or just, no, it's guys that have played, you know, we got Aaron Dornenkamp, and who's been playing overseas in camp, Melvin Edgem, who had a chance to play in Rome last year. Those guys know the international game. They know how to knock the ball off the rim when it becomes a live ball. They've got that experience of how physical the game can be, how what would be an illegal screen in the NBA is now a good screen in the international game. The physical contact when you try to move and get open, the clutching and the grabbing, and those are all things that you know, guys like Dornenkamp and Carl English and Melvin are more used to than some of our NBA players. So playing against guys in practice every day gives them an opportunity to experience a little bit, but there's nothing that beats being able to play in exhibition games or competition.
What kind of opportunity would Corey Joseph have in terms of being a floor general, lots of playing time?
Yeah, no, he's our starting point guard. He's a guy that we're going to lean on to run this team. He did a great job with us last year when we were overseas playing the 11 games in Europe. He understanding the international game better. I think he just keeps getting better, and he's a big part of what we're doing. We expect a lot. We expect him to be the floor general and the leader on the floor.
There aren't many leagues or tournaments where you have to play play a stretch of 10 games in 12 days. Having a young team, is youth an advantage in that scenario, or can that hurt?
Youth, our strength is our youth, and our weakness is our youth. And we just got to, we've got to use it to our advantage, and we've got to make sure that we turn it into a positive with the high energy and the way we approach every single game and every day. But we're infants as far as the international game is concerned, and knowing the tricks of the trade. We saw that in the gold medal game against Brazil at the Pan Ams. A veteran team that knew exactly how to execute, move the ball. A team that was slower than us, but that's why we're playing. That's why we played in the Pan Am, so that we could get that experience and bounce back from it.
Anything that you picked up from the Pan Am games that has been surprising to you in lining up against these games?
I don't think so. I think we saw and expected everything that happened. The good thing for us was that we had some guys play really well, and it gave them confidence in their basketball abilities again. And we're just trying to maintain that and keep them moving forward and keep pushing them to become better basketball players because it was a positive experience for a bunch of players.
With that, have you made any adjustments to your offensive defensive set?
We've made a few just because the way that we defend and practicing against ourselves all the time. When we got into the Pan Am games, teams were pressuring us a little bit more, which we weren't used to. So we had to add a couple things. We did that through the course of the tournament, and when we add things through the course of a tournament, it becomes part of our playbook offensively. So the things that you saw in the Pan Ams, because of adjustments we made, are things that we'll lean on now as we move forward in this tournament.
A couple more questions, guys.
You talked a little bit maybe about Andrew, but you just talked about like his, his role upcoming.
Sorry, who's that?
Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, Andrew. We expect him to be a scorer for us, run the floor for us, and be a great defender. But that's no different than what we expect from all of our players. He just does it at a higher level than most, and that's why it's important that we try to figure out ways to keep him on the floor and keep him involved at both ends.
Quickly this summer, I got a chance to see Dwight Powell. Your impressions of how he's transformed his body in his game?
Dwight, it's no secret watching him when he was with Dallas, and then when Dallas would send him down to the D League, he always put up great numbers. So the progression in his career has been outstanding. He's worked hard to develop his game, and it's not a secret to us. He's been with our program. This is the third year in a row he's been with our program, and he's a big part of our program. I'll do one more.
I think you mentioned it earlier, but how huge is the depth with the schedule that you guys are getting?
That's our advantage. When you think about a team like Venezuela, if we play them on, let's say, game 8 out of 9 days or 10 days, we hope that Vasquez has had to play 38 minutes a game, whereas our guys have played 20 minutes a game, and we're fresh and we're ready to go. And we think that the strength in our country and in our youth is going to be the fact that we can play shorter minutes because of our depth and at a higher level because of our youth.